Good morning. It's Saturday, January 14th. And now that Joe Biden has got himself into this mess with documents that should have been put in the National Archives, we have a situation that is not quite the same as Donald Trump's situation, but it's still an ugly situation. It's a situation that has me believing that these two presidents are not the only ones that did this. That these two presidents are not the only one that had classified documents that weren't returned to the National Archives. But I have no way of knowing that. But in any event, Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General, head of the Department of Justice, has appointed a special prosecutor to look into the matter of Joe Biden's document mess. Now, this document mess, in my mind, and in the mind of many others, that isn't equal to Donald Trump's mess, because Biden, when he found out about these documents, readily admitted to the public that he had them and made the appropriate took the appropriate actions to get these documents into the hands of the National Archives. So, can we look away? Are we able to look away from Biden's actions? No, because on some level, they are equal to what Donald Trump did. And so, Biden has to now spend his time, or have people spending their time, explaining his actions and defending his actions against those who are loyal to Donald Trump and feel that Donald Trump is being persecuted. And I can see that point of view. There's a very fine distinction between one's actions and the other one's actions, but nevertheless, the final deed is that they took something that didn't belong to them, and it was supposed to be sent to the National Archives, and it didn't get there. So that's a crime, especially when the documents are marked top secret. Now, of course, when Biden did this, he wasn't the president, he was the vice president. And yes, he mishandled information, and the public will perceive these two cases regardless of what the special prosecutor said. The public will make their own decisions on these cases. They won't necessarily look at the quality of the event. If Biden is not castigated for this event, then the public will look at it that there's a double standard. That how come Trump is in so much trouble and Biden is getting a virtual pass? That's a problem. That's a big problem, because in the minds of many, and that many could be as much as 40 or 45% of the population, that's exactly the way they're going to look at it. They're going to look at it as if Biden is getting a free ride. And poor President Trump has been hassled and threatened because of his collection of documents. So it doesn't matter how the two men acted in this particular situation. It's the perception that is thrown about. So if the people think that Biden is getting a much easier time of it than Donald Trump about these documents, that will not bode well. And there are many who will resent that, and they will take it out on the Democrats in the 2024 election. And it may very well be that in the 2024 election, Trump will be running against Biden. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, because Trump has so much trouble outside of these documents that I don't know if he'll be able to mount a presidential campaign. But knowing the shape of this country right now, it's not out of the question that Donald Trump could be a presidential candidate in 2024. Now, I think most of us remember that the mess that President Nixon had in 1972 or 74, whatever the day was when he resigned, that Republicans actually came to his office and told him he didn't have enough votes in the Senate to avoid impeachment, and so he resigned because of his actions that were involved in the Democratic office burglary in Washington at the Watergate scandal. And then there have been other things that happened. Hillary Clinton and her use of her own computer and stuff like that. So when we're looking at the Trump case and the Biden case, we have to look back maybe at Clinton and at Nixon and see how these cases fall in terms of criminal activity, so to speak. Because Clinton got off relatively easy, and Nixon didn't get off easy at all. He had to resign, and then he had to be pardoned by the next president. So this mess, this Biden-Trump mess, has many angles that have to be viewed. And of course it doesn't really matter, knowing the American public like I do, it doesn't really matter what angles are chosen to present this case. It'll always be, if Biden gets off with like a nothing, right, that he was given preferential treatment. He was treated differently than President Trump. So we have to prove the magnitude of this event, the magnitude, the size of the event, and the actions taken by both. We know that Trump acted much differently, claiming that those documents had all been returned, claiming that he owned them, claiming that he declassified them. All of those things have to go into the pot to get boiled alongside of what Biden did, which step up and say, I took these things. Although he didn't say that very quickly, because apparently these documents were sitting in those offices for a long time, and he knew about that in early November or so, right after the election, I think. And so he waited 2 months before he revealed these things. So you've got to put all these pieces together and decide whether Biden's deed with respect to these governments is on the same level as Trump's deeds. And if we throw Clinton and Berger and some other people into the mix, it really becomes a stew. And so I leave you with those thoughts. Is Biden really as guilty as Trump? As guilty as Nixon? As guilty as Clinton? Which way are they going to go on this thing? And who will be satisfied? I can tell you that there will be large contingents in this country that will not be satisfied, no matter which way this episode turns out. So I leave you with that this morning. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.